The studio lights shine brightly, casting a sharp glow on the iconic NBC news set. The tension in the room is palpable, and Kristen Welker, poised and professional, looks directly into the camera as the broadcast begins. Kristen Welker: Mr. Mamdani, you've promised sweeping social reforms, but many are questioning how you plan to finance these ambitious proposals. How do you intend to generate the necessary resources for such massive change? The spotlight shifts to Zohran Mamdani. Calm yet resolute, he meets her gaze. His voice is steady but carries the weight of the argument he's about to present. Zohran Mamdani: we have the resources already. They're just concentrated in the hands of the wealthiest 1%. By increasing their taxes, we can fund the reforms that will lift up millions of Americans who've been left behind. We have enough. It's just a matter of redistributing it. Kristen's expression hardens slightly, and she leans forward with a sharp question. Kristen Welker: but history tells us that socialist policies, whether in Venezuela or other nations, have led to disastrous economic outcomes. How can you guarantee that your plan won't lead to the same outcome? The words hang in the air, but Zohran doesn't flinch. He takes a breath, then responds with conviction. Zohran Mamdani: the policies you're referring to were built on a flawed foundation. Our vision is completely different. We are aiming for a path that balances economic sustainability with social justice. It's about creating a system that works for all, not just the few. Kristen's brow furrows as she presses on, testing him further. Kristen Welker: but critics say your proposals are nothing more than populist rhetoric. They claim they're unrealistic and will never work. How do you respond to that? Zohran Mamdani pauses, his hands folding together on the table as he leans forward, speaking directly from the heart. Zohran Mamdani: defending the needs of the people is not populism, it's democracy. People are tired of empty promises. They want real change, change that takes courage. We are asking for that courage, and we're going to achieve it with mutual respect for all voices involved. Kristen Welker takes a beat, visibly intrigued but unsatisfied. She pivots, turning to the bigger question. Kristen Welker: do you believe your vision can maintain public support in the long term? Zohran smiles, a confident, almost reassuring grin. Zohran Mamdani: absolutely, because this vision isn't just a political statement. It's a reflection of the real needs of the people, and when you put people first, you'll always find support. The studio falls silent, the air charged with anticipation. As Kristen glances toward the audience, her next words linger before she speaks again. Kristen Welker: thank you, Mr. Mamdani, for joining us today. The interview ends, but the ripples of Zohran's powerful message will be felt far beyond the studio walls. His calm demeanor, paired with unwavering determination, leaves a lasting impression. Zohran Mamdani, in this moment, is more than just a politician. He's a leader, a beacon for those demanding a system that finally serves the many, not the few. His battle has just begun, and as the cameras shut off, it's clear: Zohran is ready for the fight. The camera cuts to a commercial break, but the energy in the studio doesn't settle. The conversation has shifted, and the room is charged with more questions than answers. In the green room, Zohran's mind races. He knows the real battle is still ahead, not just with the people on the stage, but with a political system entrenched in the status quo. The break ends. The cameras roll again, and Kristen Welker's voice cuts through the silence. Kristen Welker: we're back, and we're continuing our conversation with Zohran Mamdani, who's calling for sweeping reforms to address economic inequality. Mr. Mamdani, let's talk about specifics. You've mentioned raising taxes on the wealthiest Americans, but what kind of pushback are you anticipating from those who will be directly affected? Zohran leans forward in his seat, his gaze unwavering as he prepares for the next round. This is a battle of ideas, and Zohran is determined to win it. Zohran Mamdani. Pushback? Of course, there will be resistance. The richest Americans have made their wealth in a system that favors them, at the expense of everyone else. So naturally, they'll fight to protect their interests. But here's the thing. It's not about them. It's about the millions of people who are struggling every day to make ends meet. The families who are one emergency away from financial ruin. These are the people who deserve to have their voices heard. Kristen Welker. But you understand, don't you, that such a tax increase could harm the very economy you're trying to improve. If you take away from the top earners, you risk stifling the job market. The economy could slow down. The very reforms you seek could backfire. Zohran shakes his head, resolute in his response. Zohran Mamdani, that's the old narrative. It assumes that the wealthy create jobs solely through their own wealth, when the reality is that the economy is driven by the hard work and purchasing power of everyday Americans. When people have more money in their pockets, they spend it. They create demand. They create jobs. It's about reinvesting in the people, not the corporations. The room grows quieter, and for a moment, even Kristen's posture softens. She knows Zohran has struck a chord, but there's still more to this conversation. Kristen Welker. So you believe that redistributing wealth will drive economic growth? And how do you address concerns about businesses that might flee the country if these taxes are raised? Zohran takes a moment before responding, collecting his thoughts carefully. Zohran Mamdani, we need to recognize that the current system is broken. The rich have sheltered their wealth overseas, while communities across America have struggled. Raising taxes isn't just about increasing revenue, it's about correcting an imbalance that has been built over decades. And as for businesses fleeing, let them. If a company chooses to leave because it can't pay fair wages or contribute to the community, we're better off without them. What we need are businesses that care about the people who work for them, that invest in their workers, and build an economy that benefits everyone. Kristen Welker doesn't back down, but the edge in her voice has softened. There's an acknowledgement that Zohran's vision is not easily dismissed. Kristen Welker, but critics will argue that your approach is too idealistic, that what you're suggesting isn't practical. Do you have a specific plan to address the short-term disruptions that could occur during this transition? Zohran Mamdani. Nothing worth fighting for comes without challenges. We're talking about a radical shift, and yes, there will be growing pains, but that's why it's essential we do this in a measured, thoughtful way. We start by investing in job retraining programs, ensuring the communities most impacted by these changes are given the tools they need to adapt. We create a social safety net that supports people as they transition into new industries. This isn't about tearing the system down, it's about building something that actually works for everyone. Kristen Welker is clearly trying to corner him, but Zohran is navigating each question with ease. The debate, though heated, is being framed on his terms. Kristen Welker, you've mentioned a social safety net. Are you proposing universal basic income? Or are there other methods you have in mind? Zohran's eyes light up at the mention of UBI, but he quickly steadies himself. Zohran Mamdani, universal basic income is one part of the broader vision. It's a necessary tool to ensure that everyone has a basic standard of living. But our approach is more comprehensive. We need universal healthcare, affordable housing, better access to education, and a living wage for every worker. UBI alone won't solve the problem, but it's a start. One that acknowledges the reality of automation, the gig economy, and the changing nature of work. Kristen Welker's final question is a sharp one, designed to rattle him. But Zohran is unfazed. Kristen Welker, and if this doesn't work, if this vision fails, what then? Zohran leans back slightly, but his voice rings clear. Zohran Mamdani. Then we try again. We don't give up on the people, and we don't give up on the idea that a better, fairer world is possible. That's what real leadership is about. Fighting for what's right, even when the odds are against you. Kristen pauses, perhaps in awe of the determination she sees before her. The camera slowly pulls back as the weight of the conversation settles in. The tension has eased, but the questions remain. What will America do with this vision? Will it push forward into the future Zohran imagines? Or will it remain shackled to the past? The segment closes, but Zohran's words linger. He has taken on the powerful elite, challenged the establishment, and presented a vision that, for all its risks, promises a future that might actually work for everyone. The real test now begins, outside the walls of this studio, in the halls of power and the hearts of the American people. As Zohran walks off the stage, there's no mistaking the impact he's made. He may be facing a tough battle ahead, but for now, Zohran Mamdani is the hero of his own story, a leader with a vision, ready to fight for change, no matter the cost. The studio lights dim as the camera fades out. Zohran steps off the stage, but the fight isn't over. The conversation on NBC News, Meet the Press, has only just sparked a fire, one that is now burning across the country. Behind closed doors, politicians, strategists, and lobbyists are scrambling to make sense of his bold proposals. The air is thick with anticipation, but also with fear, from those who stand to lose from the changes Zohran has championed. The next day, social media is buzzing with reactions. Supporters rally behind him, calling for a more equitable society, while critics amplify their attacks, claiming that his plan is nothing more than a utopian dream. But Zohran isn't backing down. If anything, the reactions only fuel his resolve. As Zohran prepares for his next big push, he addresses the growing wave of criticism head-on. Zohran Mamdani. I'm not here to make friends with billionaires. I'm here to fight for the millions of people who don't have the luxury of playing the system to their advantage. These aren't just numbers or policies on a page. They're lives, real lives. I've seen firsthand what happens when we allow a few to hoard wealth while the rest of the country struggles. In the days following the interview, Zohran's message reverberates through local communities. From the small towns of rural America to the urban centers, people begin to take notice. They're no longer just watching the debate from afar. They're getting involved, engaging in discussions, and asking questions. In his home district, Zohran sees this change firsthand. He receives messages from constituents who have never reached out before. They want to know how his policies will impact them, how his proposals can improve their lives. But it's not just about the policies. It's about the trust he's building with the people. They're beginning to see him not just as a politician, but as someone who is willing to fight for them, even when it's not the popular thing to do. Zohran Mamdani. It's not about promises, it's about results. We need to stop pretending that the current system works. We need to stop pretending that the rich are creating jobs for the people. We need to face the truth. The system is broken. It's failing us all. But with this increasing support comes greater opposition. The political establishment, threatened by Zohran's momentum, begins to rally against him. They question his experience, his practicality, and his ability to lead. They paint him as an idealist, someone who is more focused on making headlines than making a real difference. Yet Zohran refuses to be distracted by their noise. His focus remains unwavering: to fight for those who have been silenced for far too long. In his eyes, the pushback is simply a sign that he's on the right path. He knows the real fight isn't about defeating his opponents, it's about convincing the people that a better future is possible. Zohran Mamdani, they can throw all the insults they want, they can call me whatever they like, but the truth is, they're afraid. They're afraid of the change we're pushing for. They're afraid of a world where the 99% have a voice and a place at the table. And they should be. Back on NBC News, the debates are far from over. Kristen Welker, once again, sitting across from Zohran, presses him with more questions. This time, the stakes are higher. Kristen Welker, Mr. Mamdani, let's talk about the specifics of your plan. You've said that you want to raise taxes on the wealthiest 1%. But how exactly do you plan to get the support you need to pass such a drastic change? Zohran looks at her, knowing that this is a critical moment. The political machine is massive, and the task ahead is monumental. But Zohran has never shied away from a challenge. Zohran Mamdani, it's going to take grassroots movements. It's going to take the people demanding change. It's not just about convincing lawmakers in Washington, it's about showing the people that we have the power to reshape the system. And we will. The weight of his words hangs in the air, and for a moment, it's as if the entire room has held its breath. The challenge is clear. Zohran isn't just advocating for reform, he's calling for a revolution of the people, by the people, and for the people. But as the days pass, the opposition ramps up. Negative ads flood the airwaves, and influential figures try to discredit Zohran's movement. They claim his vision is naive, his policies too risky. They argue that the consequences of his plans could lead to economic disaster, even greater inequality. But Zohran is unshaken. He knows that the biggest battles are always fought not on the front lines, but in the hearts and minds of the people. And he's ready to win that battle. Zohran Mamdani, I didn't come into this to play it safe. I didn't come here to keep the system intact. I came here to break it open, to make it work for everyone, not just the top 1%. If that makes me an idealist, then I'll wear that label proudly. The weeks go by, and the movement grows. People who once felt helpless are now empowered. They're writing letters, making calls, attending rallies. And in every town hall Zohran holds, the message is clear. The people are ready for change. As the political establishment digs in their heels, they begin to realize something important. Zohran's not going away, and neither is his vision for a fairer, more just society. The battle is far from over, but Zohran Mamdani has proven one thing. His fight is for the future, and he's not afraid to take on anyone who stands in his way. The storm of opposition is relentless, but Zohran remains steadfast. The political elites are beginning to understand the weight of his words. It's no longer just about an interview or a campaign speech. It's about a fundamental shift in the narrative of American politics. Zohran Mamdani is calling for something bigger than tax reform or social safety nets. He's calling for a reimagining of what this country can be. In the heart of Washington, the resistance against his ideas intensifies. The media outlets continue to debate whether Zohran's vision is feasible or a dangerous experiment. But in the communities Zohran fights for, the message is clear. They want change. And they're willing to stand by the man who is ready to deliver it. One chilly morning, Zohran stands before a group of young activists in a small room, tucked away in a community center. His supporters have come together, eager to hear what's next. The energy in the room is electric as they hang on to every word he says. Zohran Mamdani. This isn't just about politics. It's about making sure every person in this country has the dignity they deserve. It's about ensuring that hard work is rewarded and that those who have been left behind are no longer forgotten. A young woman in the front row raises her hand. Young activist. But Zohran, the people in power are trying to tear you down. They say your ideas will destroy the economy. What do we do when they fight back so hard? Zohran looks around the room, his eyes locking with those of the young activist. He doesn't flinch. Zohran Mamdani. We fight back harder. We stand together. We remind them that the people have always been the driving force behind change. We take our power back, and we don't let anyone tell us we don't deserve a fair shot at success. The room erupts in applause, the sound of unwavering support filling the space. Zohran's words are more than just rhetoric. They are a call to action, one that resounds with the promise of a better future. This is a movement that can no longer be silenced. Days later, Zohran takes to the stage at a rally in New York City. The crowd stretches as far as the eye can see, people from all walks of life coming together to hear what he has to say. Zohran Mamdani. We're not asking for handouts. We're not asking for charity. We're asking for what's rightfully ours, a fair shot, a system that doesn't exploit us, but rewards us. This is not about partisanship. This is about justice. The roar of the crowd is deafening. In this moment, Zohran doesn't just speak for his supporters. He speaks for an entire generation that has been told time and again that change is impossible. But now, they're beginning to believe that it isn't just possible, it's inevitable. As the rally continues, Zohran sees the future in front of him. The people are demanding change, and they're ready to fight for it. The pressure on the political establishment continues to mount, and there's a sense of urgency in the air. This is no longer just a conversation, it's a movement that can no longer be ignored. Back in the studio, Kristen Welker revisits the topic of Zohran's tax reforms. The discussion is heated, but Zohran's poise never wavers. Kristen Welker. But the question remains, Mr. Mamdani, how do you ensure that these policies don't result in economic collapse? What safeguards do you have in place to ensure that your reforms are sustainable? Zohran Mamdani. We're not asking for a revolution in the traditional sense. We're asking for a revolution of values. What happens in a system that rewards the few at the expense of the many is unsustainable. Our reforms are about creating a more sustainable future, one where everyone has an equal opportunity to thrive. That's not radical, that's smart. Kristen Welker listens carefully, then presses on. Kristen Welker. But won't these reforms drive away businesses? Won't they hurt the very people you aim to help? Zohran Mamdani. The businesses that care about the people, that invest in their workers, will thrive. Those who don't, won't. And frankly, we're better off without them. If your business model is built on exploiting people, then maybe it's time to rethink your priorities. We want businesses that are invested in the long-term success of this country and its people. As Zohran speaks, the camera zooms in on his face. There's no sign of hesitation, no flicker of doubt. He knows what he's up against, and he knows the stakes. Kristen Welker, and do you think your vision will succeed in a divided nation? Can you bridge the gap between the left and right? Zohran Mamdani, the real divide isn't between left and right. It's between the haves and the have-nots. And that's a divide that needs to be healed. I don't need to unite every person on the left or the right. What I need is for people to unite around the basic principles of fairness, equality, and justice. And that's something we all can get behind. Kristen looks at him, clearly impressed by his clarity and conviction. But she knows that the battle is far from over. The segment ends, but the questions linger. Will Zohran's vision ever come to fruition? Can he overcome the entrenched powers that stand in his way? One thing is certain: Zohran Mamdani is not backing down. He has become the face of a new political movement. A movement that stands for the people, that fights for the voiceless, and that demands the kind of change this country so desperately needs. In the end, Zohran Mamdani may not just be remembered for his policies, but for the way he transformed the conversation. He challenged the status quo, took on the elites, and never wavered in his belief that a better future is possible. And perhaps, just maybe, his fight will become the turning point in a new era of American politics, one where the people, not the powerful, are in charge. As Zohran walks off the stage, the roar of the crowd in his mind never fades. This battle is far from over, but Zohran Mamdani is a hero, and this is only the beginning.